All right, time for a weekly outlook. It is currently 2 a.m. in the morning here on the West Coast, but let's get started. I did one earlier in the group. Talked about some things, but it sort of changes with this nice gap up. Actually, not too much changes, but we'll just see what Monday gives us. But the plan is, well, the overall idea is ES and Q both had this 4 day balance up here, 4 or 5 day balance, right? Failed it, broke down, and sort of ES came like essentially like filled half that gap of that election gap, and then developed a 4 day balance here, right? Weak low, but got that breakout Thursday and held that upper end of Thursday's distribution on Friday. So try and accept back into the balance. We've came into the lower end, um, but not necessarily like quite found acceptance, I would say. Um, at least as of the close on Friday. But looks like, we're nice gap up. We'll see what Monday does. But we got over that 90 level we were watching and gapped up and kind of just floating higher for now. But that's the idea, right? Do we find acceptance back into this 4 day balance up here, or do we fail this little breakout attempt from this and fail back into this? And if we are to fail back into this, I do not think these 4 day balance levels hold, nor do I think the shelf here on the composite will hold. We got that bounce on this day on Thursday. So, you know, get that acceptance back into here becomes a big issue for buyers. You got weak low here, right? Just with these two references here. I know on this session you got excess, um, right? A pre-market, but RTH just came down and tested that same low, right? One, two, essentially three times. So weak reference point likely goes to fill that gap next, right? If we are to accept back into this, right? Or if we can start looking at it as early as a failure at 70. But like I said, if you fail 70, right, this is your first level of support, potential support at 40. So, right, weekly pivots, you can argue that it's 70 and 40 for me. We'll see if this, it's trading at 16 right now, 60, 16. I would really like to get a pullback back to like 90, at least the weekly open or Friday's close. If it does trade at 70, yeah, that'd be like I'm willing to look for a dip buy down there. You got some unfinished business up here, not the greatest form of excess, so don't necessarily have to come down to 70 and take that out. Maybe we can use something we see on Monday and work off something there, right? Just looking, yeah. I mean, maybe do we want a long if we do like if we start creeping into that Sunday gap and sort of bit off of this low volume Northern composite, like maybe if I see something order flow wise and then on the footprint, yeah, maybe we can act on something before it trades 90. But I would really like for it to trade to 90 if we are going to pull back. If not, I'll work with something. Um, maybe it's a VWAP off of Sunday, or whether it's the 30-second opening range or an IB, whatever it may be. I'll try to catch along off that, or if we can start trading back over those levels. But for right now, I mean, the only thing I see is a dip buy at 90, right? Just to sort of hold that shelf. We came into it Friday and rejected for the most part. So I'd like to see us trade down into that, and it'd be great if we could catch a bid there. Trying to shoot for all-time highs and some balance extensions up here. NQ, similar story. Didn't Mag 7 was pretty darn weak on Friday. So we finished with an inside day. So I was going to say that was going to be our main focus. I said that prior to this opening. Broke out right at the open. Essentially, we kept over it. Came down, it came up to this pivot, this prior all-time high, or close to this pivot high gap here, right? We traded up to it. Now kind of finding a little bit of resistance, but same idea. Like, can we accept back into this range above us, or do we fail and trade back into this, right? And if we do, I do think I think we came close to filling the gap. We didn't necessarily fill it. But if let's say we do trade back into this range below us, right? This 4-day range below us, maybe 5.5, 4.5. We do, I don't know if there's anything within this range I want to try bid off of, except there's one level at 650. That was really more so if we found weakness on Monday or Tuesday, but it looks like we're not. So for now, I think that's off the table, a bit off 660, off the composite shelf here. So I think, the open really kind of changed up my plan a bit, but right, this 260s I think will still continue to be a pivot if we are to look lower. Right, you got a couple pivots there, couple pivots within here within this period. You got to move an average up there too. What is that? Maybe it's a 20 or 10. It looks like a 20. So that's like the main downside target, along with this high volume node on the composite. Right, you got weak reference points there, but we can talk about them when the time comes. But yeah, main theme, which balance do we accept into? As of right now, it looks like we're trying to accept back in this higher one. We'll see what happens on Monday, and by the close of Monday, hopefully we get a better idea. Right, because on NQ, I was sort of more on the fence about, okay, do I want to be bullish here? Do I want to be more on the fence and take things level to level? And I was more so leaning towards being a little more cautious and just taking longs level to level. But that I might have to change that into after Monday or Tuesday, right? So just a couple targets above us, with this being the main one, right? The main distribution up here. But for now, kind of seeing rejection at the gap fill, but held this prior all-time high pivot inside day high and excess of these past 2 days down here. Should sort of be like the first important level now that we're up here, which I would say is this, right? If we are to open higher and bid off of the opening range, or off of an anchored VWAP, it may be the case. If then I'll just have to hop in along with them, right, and try to catch something intraday. But this was the 4-day balance high down here. These two levels here, I wasn't really sure which one to pick, and you got the high there, or you got the shelf on the composite 760s, inside day low down there, and then that shelf on the composite, and the big one 660s, 670, right, which is also a shelf on during this little balance here. So pivots for me were down here at the 790, 760s, and then the 670 is like as a last resort pivot. But we really, now that we've got to, I really have to see what we do on Monday, and we'll see what we want to do going forward. Okay, RTY, YM I'm gonna skip over. I don't really want to trade this thing at all-time highs. RTY strong since Thursday, right? I said that in the daily outlook that YM and RTY looked much better for longs starting Thursday, actually, right? When we made this sort of profile, we had their excess, we had another session that sort of overlap value with these 3 sessions here. Right, you had one session down here, another one overlapping, and then you had your excess down, closed up here and built most of the value up here, and then you had another session, dip a little lower, test those singles, trade back higher. So profile wise, this looked great if we could break over that. That's sort of why I said it looked great on into Thursday and Friday, right? It's sort of a similar situation with YM, but I don't play RTY too often. I play like maybe once or twice a month. And I look for a setup each week. There's only like one real setup that I want to really play, and that would be if on weakness I'd like to buy a dip into 2404s, right? You got a little tiny set of singles there. It's your point of control of this balance up here, right? On the daily, this is what it looks like. Right, so I kind of wanted to potentially buy a dip into this point of control there. Okay, that's really like the one play I'm looking for. I mean, for those that want to play it every day and intraday, you got a couple levels here, and I posted them in the Outlook in the written format. you can go take a look at that if you're interested. But yeah, long-term target of still 25.25, so that'll stay up there. Maybe if we get some more MGI, some more market generated information, I could maybe look for maybe hop into a position, midweek or after Thanksgiving, who knows. But no plan except for this one for now for me. And it's really only this and this level and only that level, right? It's really like I'm not gonna be risking too much on it. So those are the futures plays. I know gold, there was a short I wanted to put on, but it looks like it already happened. It didn't trade up high enough for me. I'm just gonna do this on a trading view because it's easier. Don't have the profile pulled up. Right, so I wanted to get short up here. It's still possible. Oh, up there. Right. That's what I was hoping for. To maybe a trade back up to here, to maybe short. But looks like we peaked above Friday's high and failed pretty darn hard. And traded back into this. Right. So I think this is what it's going to trade between. Gold's been strong. I think it'll continue to be strong, but I kind of wanted to put on a short. It's like maybe like a 1 day or 2 day swing of some sort, right? So it likely just holds this area of value and then probably trades back up to here eventually. If not, right, if we get weakness under this low at like 2660s, I think it's a test, likely to go test this high volume node back down here, right? We got the test of it like 2 weeks ago. I don't know how I didn't see it. I mean, this is like the most blatant test of a high volume node like ever, right? I'm sure someone else caught it, but I just did not chart it for like a week or two. So missed that opportunity, but it is what it is. Sometimes you miss them. Anyway, that's it for futures. Equities, I have a couple plays in mind. Some of them are a little longer term, but I put them all here. I'll link my Notion. I've been putting my daily plans in here. ES and NQ will always be there. Some days when I think there's a trade to put on RTY and YM, yeah, I'll discuss it, right? Like this session where I thought RTY and YM profiles look better for longs into Thursday and then into Friday. And then this one for the week, right? And then this bit of a long one on Mondays only because like I have a couple more targets to discuss and a couple bigger picture ideas. But RTY and GC for now, no YM because I don't plan on playing YM. And then equities, right? We can actually go through this way. GSL, someone pointed out GSL to me. Right, you got a decent shelf there in the 20s, 20 to like 21. Anchored VWAP off the most recent big pivot low, also curling up right to it. So I'm only going to risk like, what did I say, 4%, 5%? Right, and when I say 4% or 5 or whatever percentage maybe, it's typically from my average. So I usually buy at both the levels. When I have a zone, I buy at this level and this level. Average I risk 4 from usually, or 5 or whatever it may be. So that's that. Couple targets up above. It's depending on how long I want to hold it, in terms of like cash allocate, or how much money I want to keep in each position, or what other interesting positions I want to get into, and depending on how much cash I have, it all depends on like each given scenario. But yeah, I'm gonna be trimming some position or some portions of it into some of these targets, right? Ideally. So that decision, at least from me, will come when the time comes or when it approaches. But so we got that. We got AEHR. I like it as a potential dip buy, a little riskier, but on daily close above this, I do like it. Sort of established value here. Looks like they're buying into this and hoping this is that last test of it. But yeah, if it does dip back into the 11s, I would be willing to buy, right, into 11/8s and 11/4s. I think this one I only plan to risk like 5%. Yeah, 5%. Daily close above 12/4, I might have to put on some more risk, or sort of maybe decide where to dip by or change where to dip by. This one's actually surprisingly a short, right? I don't know if I'm going to short shares. I'll probably just long puts up into 41s and 42. Okay. Probably light size, nothing heavy. I mean, it's just somewhat parabolic, so maybe better after a gap up and fail. So I'll try it up there into this shelf, into this point of control up here. If not, I mean, I'm not like looking back at this. This is the only place I'll consider doing it, and just target these gaps in that area consolidation. Okay. End phase. Not my favorite one, only because the weekly candle, I would have liked to see some excess, or essentially a wick, right? Like sort of what we see here and here. In these instances here, I want to see wicks, but you didn't really get that. But it came down into this shelf perfectly at 61 and 61 and a half. And I think that it could be due for a little bit of a bounce. I know it sold off on the Trump election, or on the Trump pick. But I would love to buy dips into 64, 65. This one I'm only risking 2%. Right, roughly. Yeah, I'm not risking too much on this. If it's got a bid there, or it's not going to at all, right? And on the weekly, you'll probably bottom once you get that those wick lows, right? Some targets up above. And then my favorite one, actually, I got in it last week on, actually added to my, I bought this dip down into the 680s a couple weeks ago. And then I bought again on Thursday or Wednesday down into the 650s, 660s. Was it the 650s? Yeah, somewhere. My average is 677 though. So I think I'm gonna long some calls as well. I like the dip into, well, 680s bid. I'll get long there. If not, I'll wait for something at 670. And this one I had planned to risk this last low. So for my average, I think it was about 5%, was it? Nearly 5%. But I still think you can be getting in on dips into 81, and potentially, if that fails, 71, 70. Right. And this one I'm a little more bullish on, only because it's semis. So this one, I sort of already have a plan as to like where I kind of want to trim, and how long do I want to hold. Ideally, I want to hold on to this one for a little bit longer than some of the other plays. So there's that. And I think that's it in terms of the equity. I think I've listed all those there. So yeah, I've listed everything that I plan on doing. Right. And typically when it's a dip buy, there's really no discretion to it. I just do it. Okay. So, each week I put on like a couple different equity plays, or, if the opportunity arises at some key levels, usually small risk, tight risk, and usually targets are like twice that, triple. So, sometimes I prefer, these aren't like plays that like I absolutely, absolutely love. They're not like the snow play I had the last month, or like an MSTR play or a UI play, right? They're not like those kinds of plays. When those come up, yeah, I make a big deal out of it, right? Like once, yeah, holy fuck. When you get something like, yeah, I mean, you'll know it when I buy. But it's they have potential to do, something, obviously not this crazy and this crazy, but sometimes you just hit, right? And it just happens. So some of them have potential, but I'm not one to like get in a position down here or build a position and shoot for like new all-time highs like that, right? And those calls are, at least for me, are very, very rare. I think the last like I might try to catch a bottom and call an all-time high was CRM, right down into this and bought here, and I exited up into here, but yeah, I mean sometimes I still end up taking it level to level, um, but I'm not necessarily looking to get in snow here and say, okay, let's hold the entire position up to new all-time highs, or let's hold the entire position until I retire. It's not, I'm not going to be making those types of calls. Obviously, yeah, sometimes I'll throw them into my long term and just keep them there like snow, right? I have like 10% of my position still at what was it, a 120 average, um, that I've just chucked into my long term, and I'll just keep there. But um, if it becomes huge, yeah, sure. But it's at, but I do say when I'm out of most of my position, and pretty clear as to like what I, how much of the position I'm holding on to, and whatnot. So anyway, that's the outlook. Yeah, we'll keep taking it day to day. I'm sure things will change. Profile, we'll get more MGI and sort of get a better understanding of what we want to do in terms of like, do we want to stay in this upper range? If so, let's continue looking for places to buy dips, right? Um, yeah, but we have to wait for more MGI if we're not going to get a pullback. Okay, so that's my plan. I'll keep throwing it in here, so I'll link it in the description below. But I put these out every night or before every session, and then they'll stay there. So on that note, I will catch you all Monday at the open.